Hey guys, welcome to this video. There's a storm raging on outside, so I apologise if there's any background noise. I've been having some trouble recording certain things lately, but hopefully this one will work out fine because I don't want to have to do it twice. But otherwise, this video is about the Geminae Superia in the Sisters of Battle Beta Codex found in Chapter Approved 2018. So let's get straight into it. These are an elite choice. They are 2 power, which for basically 1, you can buy an extra one for another +1 power, which is total of 3, so that's not too bad. Points wise, they work out to 21 points each, but you have to pay for their power swords, so 25 each essentially. So this unit here is 50 points. You can only have 1 of these units per army, but that makes sense because they are supposed to be individual. Basically, stat line wise, they are move 12 inches, same as Celestine, weapon skill ballistic still 3+, strength and toughness 3, 2 wounds apiece, 3 attacks apiece, leadership 9, and with a 3-up save. So essentially, stat line wise, they are the same. What they have lost is their 4-up invulnerable save. However, they do have Shield of Faith, and if they're paired with Celestine, then basically she gives them a +2 to their save, so they get a 4-up invuln again anyway, so long as they're next to Celestine. So they also have Acts of Faith, so you can do all the usual shenanigans there. They do not have the order keyword, just like Celestine, which means you can't get any of the benefits there. You can't give them relics, as we know. They have basically a lot of restrictions, but they do have fly, they have jump pack keyword. One thing that is weird about them is if it's a battle-forged army, and you take Celestine, these do not take up an elite slot, which could be good depending on the restrictions you're playing with, but to be honest, most of the time it's probably annoying. It'd be much better if you had the choice in all these like slotless and slotted things, so you could choose whether you want them to take a slot or not. Would be much more flexible and more powerful. So I'm not sure whether they intended this to be a deliberate restriction, but if it is, it's just a bit weird, especially with our limited unit choices. Like, we need everything we can get to fill out slots, because with the rule of 3, we only have so many choices anyway. But anyway, a bit of a rant there. Weapon-wise, they have a bolt pistol, power sword, frag and crack grenades, so pretty much straightforward as you expect. Basic stat-wise, not terrible on their own. Where it really hurts is the fact that they're a unit of just 2 models with 2 wounds apiece. Yeah, if things catch these guys in the open, I mean, they are characters, so they have some defense against that at least. I'll just swap them around since this one's the painted one. They have some defense against the kind of stuff that's coming in, because obviously they can be sniped, but as I said in the Celestine video, if people are sniping these girls, then basically they're probably not going to do too much, because it's quite hard to kill characters with snipers. All the things that are really dangerous to characters with snipers means that they're shooting at these, they're not shooting at bigger targets. So, you know, it's not too bad in that sense. Otherwise, they'll be fairly easy to keep safe because they're a very small footprint. They're very fast. You can hide them in buildings pretty well. You get a cover save. And, you know, if there was Celestine, then of course her healing tears can bring some back to life or heal them, so that's not too bad. Now bear in mind they do have Acts of Faith, so you can use the Acts of Faith to heal them or bring them back as well if you wish. You can use it for the +3 movement, which might help, as I'll get to in a minute. +1 to hit while shooting, probably not going to use it on them. It's a bit of a waste, unless of course they just happen to be nearby when you fire off vessels. Fair enough. I mean, +1 to hit on a frag grenade, that's potentially quite good. Even on a crack grenade in the right targets. The fight twice could be useful if you're up against toughness 3 infantry, or even less potentially, but generally speaking, if you're up against toughness 3 and for some reason it's well armoured, ironically other Sisters of Battle, then the fight twice could be useful here, but honestly you're probably not going to be trying to get it off on these guys unless you're very desperate. You're pretty much only ever going to want to just slice down a couple of things here and there, and then otherwise just leave these girls to be harassment and stuff. Anyway, the last thing they have is a rule called life wards, or life woods, depending on how you want to say it. So basically this is the bodyguard role for them. It basically means whenever Celestine loses a wound, and she's within 3 inches of them, so basically bit further than a regular unit, but still within range. So you can roll a dice on the 2+. These guys suffer one mortal wound instead. So basically they tank the wounds. And as I said in the Celestine video, at least you can control, effectively, you can control who gets the wounds, that kind of thing. The Celestine can take the wounds if you want to keep this unit alive, or alternatively they can obviously tank the wounds for her. And of course they get to use her save ability first, be it the 4-up, which obviously it wouldn't be in this case in run, or a 2-up armor save. So, you know, it's ever so slightly more defensible, ever so slightly. Let's assume then that if you are taking Celestine, you would consider using these for 25 points a pop. I don't think that's bad. I think if you're using them in the bodyguard role, you want to take both, because otherwise it's not really worthwhile. I mean, if you're hurting for points, sure, but there's probably better things to spend it on. But I would say if you want them exclusively to bodyguard Celestine, then take both. I think you will get more mileage out of them in that case. If you're not taking Celestine, there's a couple of ways you can do this. Now, 2 again for 50 points is not bad. Bear in mind you can just go grab objectives with them, which is pretty good, and that's where you might want to use that movement act of faith, because if you combine that with basically advancing as well, then you're going to be moving at least 16 inches with these girls, and probably a bit further than that too. So you've got some serious potential there. You know, you could get up to 21 inches of movement still on an advance, which means they're actually pretty damn good for going and grabbing objectives that are out in the corners, on top of high buildings, that kind of thing, with the fly keyword. The other good thing they are good at is just getting stuck into assault with things that can't really hurt them, or if stuff can hurt them, just stuff you don't want to shoot on the next turn. So if you've got 2 in particular, you charge them into, say, I don't know, a gun battery or something like that. It'll kill probably 1 sister, and then on the Overwatch if they're lucky, and then you just tied them up and they can't do anything really. So that's effectively new to the unit. So if you pick the right kind of units, generally very static ones, things like tanks without too many shots for the Overwatch, you know, these are really good at just tying those up and just taking them out of the game, essentially. They're not going to kill them, but they're definitely going to remove them from the equation, and that really makes it very awkward for your opponent. So yeah, pretty good option there, especially for only 50 points. For 25 points, you can have the single sister doing the exact same thing. Even if you just flew her right up the board, hid her in cover, and then completely left her for the entire game. That could get you line breaker, it could get you various other objectives depending on what you're playing. People might forget she's even there. So it's not terrible. And you know, 3 attacks with a power sword, if they have priest support, it goes up to 4 attacks. Again, that's not bad either. Now, you can't get any rerolls to hit on this because obviously they don't have the order keyword, so it means the canoness can't really support them either. But otherwise, it's not terrible. You could get them re-rolling once to wound thanks to the Acts of Faith, but you're probably not really going to want to. You're probably just going to leave them as they are, out the gate, cheap and cheerful. And I can see a place for them in many lists, or at least one. For 25 points, I think you're getting a pretty good deal there. Cheaper than the Dialogus now. She is a character, so I think... So because they are characters, what this means is when one is slain, you can use the martyrdom stratagem if you wish to get more faith points, for D3 faith points. So because there's 2, if they both die, you could effectively spend 2 command points, it's so long as they die on separate turns, of course, to get 2 D3 faith points, if that's what you want, some extra faith points as well. So there are some pluses, and honestly, they're not bad. There's very few armies that have something this cheap that is pretty much immune to most shooting because it won't be the closest one. You can basically tie up enemy units and just basically grab objectives and things and be forgotten about, essentially. It's honestly not a bad deal at all, and I'm going to be experimenting using them on their own for a little bit at first, and then I will bring in Celestine back because I'm just trying to move away from Celestine for a little bit first because I know she's good, so obviously I don't want to constantly use Celestine. I want to try out everything as it comes. But yeah, it's not terrible. It's a shame they can't take relics because that would make them better. It's a real shame that they can't take the order convictions. I can see why fluff-wise. I kind of wish that they would just put the order keyword on there anyway, because who cares? And you know, getting an extra attack and +1 strength on these would actually make them really good at that point. But I can understand that. But yeah, essentially that is it for the Geminae. So use them as a guided missile to tie up the kind of units that are going to be shooting but are crap in assault and hopefully have some crap overwatch. But if they do have overwatch, hide them in a building. Make sure you're out of line of sight when you do the charge. They can't overwatch you unless they have some special rules, which most things don't. And that will tie them up, and you can just carry on doing that for the rest of the game. Or at the very worst, they're going to miss a single turn of shooting, and that can be huge at the right time. If your opponent's inexperienced, you can shove them up with the rest of your army, and they'll be like, oh god, what are these things doing? They look scary. I mean, there's Penitent Engines here, there's Dominions here, there's Seraphim, there's probably Celestine or something coming up behind. And that's not just the regular troops coming in, rhinos, stuff in the back. Oh god, what do I shoot at? I might have to shoot at these. And they're effectively wasting shots at that point. So, there we go. Now, the thing you have to be careful with these is, if they get caught in the open, basically some Storm Bolters are just going to mow these girls down. And when they die, they die. You can't bring them back. Using Celestine or any other method. So make sure that you try and maximize their defenses as much as possible. Don't expose them. If you do need to run them off on their own, make sure that you're aware of what your opponent can do in terms of repositioning and redeployment. So he doesn't have any reserves coming in to catch them out, although that could help sometimes. Make sure he doesn't have any like psychic powers that immediately jump them over, blah blah blah, because otherwise they're not going to get done so much. However, if they do have that, you could double bluff them and basically use them as a distraction to move those units out of position. So say there's an objective over in the back I fly them over there to get the objective, and he's like, oh, I need to get them off their objective, so he warps like a big squad of orcs or something, puts them nearby. But then he's effectively, yeah, he's getting the objective, yeah, he's killing that unit, but he's removed that entire blob of orcs just to kill 2 models at the end of the day. So, depending on how well your opponent knows you and these tactics that you could use, then maybe you could play it the other way and suddenly trick them again. So, yeah, very flexible, very good. I've basically waffled on quite a lot here, actually. There isn't much else to say about them. They seem pretty effective. I would give them a thumbs up. Ooh. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment and like, blah blah blah, and I'll see you next time. Guys, hope you liked the video, and if you did, I'm just going to say I have started a Patreon. So if you want to support the channel and help me to actually have some time to make these videos, get them out faster, and basically improve the quality of them, because that's a recurring issue, you can find that basically at patreon.com/TortleTalk. Even a small donation would be amazing. For those who don't want to donate, please don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment below, and share the video around as much as you can, because as many people who can see this, the better, basically. I can spend money on improving the channel, for starters, but also it means I can actually afford to make videos more often. I'm also going to be making a Facebook group soon. This will primarily be focused on Sisters of Battle and Eldar tactics, with more of a weighting towards Sisters of Battle because there isn't that much out there for Sisters players. And of course, with the beta codex and the eventual model release, there's probably going to be quite a few things that need taking care of that haven't really been taken care of yet. So I'm going to be starting a Facebook group. You're welcome to join. I will put the link in a video. I'll make a special video for it when it actually happens. And then I'll put the link in every video description. The same with the Patreon. So there's a link to the Patreon down below. Yep, anything you can do to help this channel and any kind of feedback you have is fantastic. Thanks for watching again. See you next time.